Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and today I am chatting with Tucker Yarbrough, CFO at Yarbrough and Sons Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Tucker and I spoke about building a legacy brand, creating a net profit sharing fund for his team, shouting out his techs on social media, and more. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. Tucker Yarbrough, you are the CFO at Yarbrough and Sons Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing in the Oklahoma City metro area. Today, you and I are going to be talking about building a legacy brand through steady, consistent growth. I am so excited to chat with you today. Welcome to the Toolbox for the Trades podcast.
Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about it.
I am excited too. Well, I'm going to kick this off with an icebreaker, and I would like to know, I know you're a big reader, and for anyone who is watching this on YouTube, you'll see he's got literally probably about 100 books behind him, Tucker does. So Tucker, I would like to know, what book has had the biggest impact on your life?
So probably biggest impact on my life. In college, I had a professor who, to graduate with his course set of honors, you had to take his class. It was his mentorship class with him 3 years in a row. So 6 semesters. And for 6 semesters, I read nothing but How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So as far as a book that I've spent the most time with, is definitely How to Win Friends. And it's nothing revolutionary, but it's a constant and consummate reminder of doing the small things to win in relationships, how to win that capital, how to win, literally how to win friends, but also how to continue, not just to leverage those relationships. I know a lot of times How to Win Friends gets a bad rap sometimes in today's world. It can be seen as kind of a manipulation book of sorts. However, Dale throughout it is really conscientious about making sure here's how you exchange value, not just get value out of relationships. So I'd say probably the most time I've spent with the book is How to Win Friends.
I think there's definitely some good takeaways from that book. My favorite fact about that book is that the writer Dale Carnegie is not actually a Carnegie. Did you know this?
I did not know this.
Yeah, he's not a Carnegie. He's not from like the Carnegie family. His last name just happens to be Carnegie.
That earns some credibility.
Yeah, it's like if your last name just so happened to be like Jobs or something, and it's like, like from Steve Jobs, or I don't know, Bezos or something, and it's like, oh my gosh, a Bezos is here. It's like,
we got him.
I know.
I think the story of Teddy Roosevelt in there, though, of him knowing everyone's name at the White House and knowing their family, like you can't get more impactful than that, though.
I 100% agree. And I'm really big into calling people by their name, not to an excessive amount. Do you ever notice that sometimes people will say it a little too much?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think there's like a fine line there.
It hits that point, though, where you're not sure if they're trying to remember your name, because they might just be bad with names, trying to make a point of like getting better with it, or if it's the man, you read How to Win Friends one too many times and have taken it way too literal.
Yeah. There's like a literalness to it that sometimes I've just been like, stop saying my name. I know it. Do you have a specific way that you memorize people's names? So
I have the memory of an elephant. If it's there once, it's there forever. And so I can a lot of times what I'll do is like I legitimately imagine myself like dumb, but like, those fat Sharpie markers, literally just like grabbing it with my whole fist and writing their name as big as I can. And like, that's like the how I remember it. And I'm like, all right, that's the thing. And then just try to make it a point to say their name at least once after I meet them, or make like a co-introduction to my wife or somebody on my team. That way now I've used it. And so that's just one little trick, but really I was blessed with a good memory.
So lucky. I was not. And I found that the best strategy is just to come clean and say, I'm so sorry. I know that we've met before. I know we've had conversations, and I cannot for the life of me remember your name. Would you please remind me of it? And so coming forward with that radical honesty almost, I think has been my way. People are usually pretty receptive when I do that.
So in college, I was, my last 2 years in college, I was in charge of freshman orientation, helping coordinate all of that. And so that puts you on stage in front of several thousand students at a time. And so my wife and I, we were dating then, and we'd been dating for a long time. And I told her one time, I was like, hey, if somebody comes up to me, they're clearly an underclassman and they know my name and I can't remember theirs, I said, I'm going to do just a quick handoff. Here's my trick is, So Jackie, if I didn't remember your name, I'd be talking to you. Hey, what's up? Oh, hey, I'm so sorry. I haven't introduced you to my wife, Cass. And then Cass would come up, shake hand, be like, hi, I'm Cassidy, and wait for your name. And then I know the name now. So I've just got it as a little sneaky little trick just to avoid the confrontation.
That's a solid trick. Solid trick. So a bit of a spoiler to my next question. I wanted to know how you got into the trades. The name of the company you work for is Yarbrough and Sons, obviously. So you are a son. But tell me, how did you get into the industry? How did you come to be the CFO now?
So the greatest reverse psychology trick in the book. Mom and dad started Yarbrough's Heating and Cooling in '88 and rocked along and grew it till I think they probably had 5 or 6 people working for them. And then in 2000, when Service Experts swept across the nation, they sold out. And dad at that time was doing mostly commercial and refrigeration work. And Service Experts wanted a commercial manager over their new Oklahoma City store. And so dad obliged and said, okay, I'll go run it. Then after 2 years, decided he wasn't such a bad manager and decided to come back into the business. But all the while me and my 2 older brothers, Will and Colby, were growing up, they told us, a lot of times dad blatantly told us, hey, go do something else. There's got to be an easier way to make a living. And in the early days of building the business, gosh, it was him, helping do installs and doing service and sales and all sorts of stuff. And so it was, to him, the perspective of there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be a better way to make a living. And so the only thing they told us they wanted for us was to be productive members of society. That was the barometer. Was, hey, we just want you to go do what God wants you to do and go be a productive member of society. And so that was the plan. And so through high school, I was trying to play college football and all that, and had several injuries and spent a lot of time in physical therapy. And thought, man, this is a cool way to serve people. Physical therapy is, it's an intimate setting where you're getting to help literally rebuild someone's body and just be a helper. And so I got to college, was studying chemistry, planned to opt that into a doctorate of physical therapy. And after Calc 2 kicked my butt and humbled me real fast, I realized, all right, I've got to reposition. So I called dad and said, okay, I think I want to come back to the family business. What could I study in college that would get us ahead, that would help us grow and really help us solidify the business and push forward? And without missing a beat, he said mechanical engineering, and because we're still doing a bunch of commercial. And I said, well, Dad, I just bombed Calc 2, and to become a mechanical engineer, you got to take Calc 2. And so I said, what else? He said, something in the business world and finance. So I studied management and finance, double majored, and finished that, and then came back as soon as I graduated and have been full-time in the business for 6 years now. And
Amazing.
So we've grown from 4.5 million. My 2 older brothers are in the business with us as well. They're both residential comfort advisors. We grew from about 4.5 million to last year we closed just shy of 11.
Congratulations.
So it's been a wild ride, but it's a lot of fun getting to work with your family.
Yeah. So well, first off, I've also been humbled by math in my life. So you're in good company here. So when you joined the business, your father was at the $4.5 million.
Yeah. Yep.
And so now within 6 years, you, Will, Colby, and your dad, who's still in the business, right?
Yep.
Or has he retired?
No, he's still in the business. He still sells entirely too much.
So you guys have now taken the business to the 11 million mark. Congratulations on that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and at that time, my mom was keeping the books and was still kind of operating, HR stuff. And then whenever I came in full time, she decided she'd always had a dream of opening up a boutique shop. And so we built a building right next to ours, 2,600 square foot. And she opened up a little boutique shop in Blanchard and sold home decor and personal care items and all sorts of stuff like that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Very entrepreneurial family.
Yeah.
So how did you and Will and Colby do it? And your dad, how did you do it? How did you grow? Because when we first spoke, you said that you guys were hovering around the $4.65 million mark for a couple of years, right? You had somewhat plateaued. Yeah.
So we always worked in the business through high school, and middle school, just scrapping units, mowing lawns, whatever, odd jobs needed to be done to earn some pocket change during the summer. And so they were, the company was stuck at 4.5 million for probably 6 or 8 years. And we all Tooler Brothers and I, we all decided to come back independently, I might add. None of us had a conversation like, hey, we're all joining the company together. It was, we all made independent decisions of, okay, we're going to come back at this time. And so we were all sporadic through about 6 months of us coming back, just kind of trickled in. And probably that first month with all of us there, we had probably 25 or 28 team members with us as well. Me, Will, Colby, and Dad sat down and had a conversation of, okay, we've got to grow. If we want this thing to support all of our families and our team's families the way we want it to and the way we know it can, we have to grow. We have to take seriously buckling down and figuring out how we can scale this thing. And so our first step was joining the Service Nation Alliance and just getting into a best practices group. And really the thing that pushed us and propelled us was hiring our business coaches that still work with us today, John and Vicky LaPlante. They're rock stars. They've been in the industry for whoever knows how long. I mean, I think they're as old as modern air conditioning itself, and just know the business inside and out, and know what buttons to push to get us to grow. And so at the time I was 22 years old and full of ambition, and here we go, and nothing's impossible, but looking at it now from the chair that I'm in, it took a lot of humility from my dad to turn over the reins and say, okay, let's try something new that we hadn't done before. And kind of give up that, closed-fisted control of the company and open up his hand and say, okay, here's the reins, and let's try to grow this thing. And so joined Service Nation. And then 2 or 3 months later, we signed up with ServiceTitan and really got kind of ingrained in culture and business system that, both Titan and Service Nation both push on HVAC companies, and just started trying to grow and advertise and market. And, we took kind of a unique approach to our marketing, and, because we were a small company, didn't have the cash for it. And so really it was that really propelled us into growth mode.
Yeah, when you and I first spoke, you said that maybe you spent $30,000 a year on marketing prior to getting on board with SNA and with ServiceTitan.
And that was probably almost all in like sponsorship stuff. It was like putting up banners at local high school fields and like Goodwill giving money here and there to different sports teams within the community and stuff. So to call that even advertising, I mean, really wasn't a whole lot either.
Yeah, for sure. But you did kickcharge your company's marketing by engaging your employees and community on social media. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we had that first year, 2018, I had kind of pushed and poked Dad to let me have a marketing budget of some sort. So we settled on, I think that first year, $4.5 million, I think it was maybe $90,000 that we were, talking about. And at that time, that was a bunch of money, and it still is a bunch of money. But to get the needle to move, you're not spending close to the 10% that you need to be at to grow. And so, not knowing what we didn't know, we called all the local news stations and said, okay, send somebody down and sell to us. Let's see what it costs to advertise on TV. And at the time in 2018, it was $450 or $500 for a 30-second spot for local news. And, your budget won't go very far. And really you can't track anything. And so during college, I got certified in Google Ad pay-per-click. And so got certified in all those while I was in college, just because I thought it would be useful for us. And so after all the local TV people left and we were done with our final meeting, I flipped my computer around and showed Dad and said, okay, give the money to me. Let me see if I can try it. If I'm wrong, the worst we can be is wrong, but we're not going to be any worse off than we are right now. And, so to his credit, he said, okay, and here we go. And so our first move was really taking serious YouTube pre-roll, and taking video really serious. We lead with video in pretty much everything we do. And highlighting our team was the next thing. Was, okay, these big companies, I can't touch their budget, but what I can do is ground us. I can make us real. I can make us feel like we're in the community. I can, shoot a commercial where the person that you're seeing, and when I say I can shoot a commercial, I mean me with an iPhone.
With an iPhone.
Yeah, with an iPhone 10 at the time, shooting whatever I could. And the audio was terrible, the video was bad, but we started to gain traction through Facebook, through YouTube, of people recognizing not only just the Yarbroughs, but our team when they were out and about. He was saying, hey, you're the guy on the commercial or something like that. And so that kind of just doubled down that reinforcement loop for us of, okay, there's something to this community marketing. And I think a lot of times whenever you hear the term community marketing, I think we put it in a box of its outreach, its involvement in the community, and it is those things, but it's also your community as a business owner is your team. And how can we leverage our team and our team's relationships? And so what we did was we started tagging anytime that they were in a picture for us or a review spotlight or a commercial, we started tagging them in those posts because I knew if I tag you, well, now your family's going to see it and your grandma's going to see it. Well, now if grandma sees it, game over. We're in Oklahoma. I claim that we're in the South. That's a heated debate. But we're either South or Midwestern, one of the two. But if grandma in the South sees it, she's sharing it to her entire network of friends, and all of them spend way too much time on Facebook. And that's who we're after. And so I want them to see that, we're proud of Robert and he's doing a great job. And now Robert's grandma is going to share with her friends and family that, oh my gosh, Robert's company is showing him off. And so just the social impact that had, and really even like leadership capital gaining that it had, was incredible. And so we still do that today. We've just supercharged it with an even more aggressive marketing budget.
What would you say to contractors listening that would tell you, why the heck would you do that? Because that would feel like me just saying, hey, these are my best techs, come and poach them.
If your best techs are a Facebook message or a DM away from leaving you, they're not your best techs. They might be high revenue producers. They might be great assets to the company. But if they're going to leave because someone, slides into their DMs and gives them an offer that they can't refuse or whatever, I mean, gosh, I think that screams more problems of culture than it does, who they are. If they're going to leave, it's not because of the Facebook message. They're thinking about leaving already. If that's all it took to push over the edge. Whereas I think the upside, and yeah, our guys, I get told all the time from people that, hey, other companies are messaging us and, our techs will show me the messages. And man, they're promising everything but a new Lamborghini, it seems like. But at the end, it's the trust that you build with your team that they're showing me those messages. And it's not posturing. It's just we're laughing and having a good chuckle about it because the trust is there. And the upside is that now we get their family to see the post that they're in and, the Instagram reel or whatever it is that they have a part in doing that shows off, hey, your son or daughter is an expert at what they do. And we're proud of the work that they do.
Amazing. And I know that team and culture is so important to you. When we first spoke, you mentioned how you and your brothers and your father are really trying to build this legacy brand, right? It's either going to go to the next generation of Yarbroughs or you're going to sell it to your team. Was that something that you guys envisioned when you sat down after all your brothers had joined the company and you guys realized, hey, we've got to do something different if we're going to support all of our families and our team's families here? Has that always been the North Star for you guys?
I think that's been something that's been developed over really probably the last couple of years of private equity sweeping through the nation. Prior to 2020, when private equity really started to gain speed, the thought of an exit, we weren't there. We didn't have, we didn't have the capital, the cash flow, or the EBITDA to even consider, we didn't even know what those terms meant really. And so to have those conversations, I think it was one of those where we didn't know what we didn't know. But as we kind of leveled up and grew, we got into rooms with people who were making moves and, selling out or acquiring or whatever it looks like. But to us, with dad, with mom and dad having sold back in 2000 and just the, story that they share, which is kind of the hurt and the fallout after they sold, they were transparent with their team and, hoped and painted it as, hey, we're gonna you guys all have a job, we're going to do this thing, but the fallout from it was, well, Darren's not our boss anymore, and the trust factor got hurt. And so not that all exits look that way, but that was kind of a driving force for mom and dad. And then as me, Will, and Colby have stepped in and we're growing the business and we have a long runway ahead of us. Any conference we go to, Will is the oldest of us and he's 34. And, so we've got a long runway ahead of us. At these conferences, we're a lot of times the younger people in the room at any given time. And so talking to folks who have made exits or made moves and just the hardship of what it can do to the team. One of the things that I wrote while I was in college, just in, I can't even remember what class it was, but we had to write a personal / professional mission statement for our life. And what I kind of arove? I don't even know if that's a word. What I arrived at or arove at, who cares?
Arrived at, who
Yeah.
cares?
Yep. What I came to was, I would rather enjoy a lesser peak with more people than a higher one alone. And because ultimately that's the stories. Those are our life is nothing more than the stories we get to tell. And so I would rather, achieve success at a lesser scale with more of my team who helped build it than one with fewer. And, I know I might be, again, it might be age and I might not be seeing it for the full picture that it is, but I think to have that vision now and that ideal now is important, especially in the light of private equity rolling up and, hearing about, success and fallout stories. There's both of that on the private equity side, but knowing that, hey, we can be a beacon of hope for our team and technicians around the OKC Metro of, hey, if you want to work with a family business, we're the one to work with. And so our goal that has, kind of come to the forefront for us is we want to be the largest small business you ever work with. And that being on that when you call, you get somebody who knows answers. When you call, you get somebody who's willing to sit down and talk with you. And so, but in the way we think of achieving that is either, like we said, our exit being, passing on to the next generation of Yarbroughs or to our team.
This is really interesting. We got a comment on one of our episodes on Spotify a few months ago, because I've had private equity partners on this show to talk about the benefits and whatnot, because there's incredible financial opportunities for owners, operators who've created great turnkey businesses who are looking for an exit. It's really interesting that your dad had that experience, didn't like I'm sure he liked parts of it, but he ended up going back to running his own business. And upon seeing how his team responded to him leaving, how that's informed how he's running this one. Because I know that your father believes that as long as you take care of people, being your employees and your clients, the money is always going to sort itself out. And it sounds like that's still something that you guys live by today.
And again, not to say that, I think if that's taken flippantly, it can be, damn the pricing, it'll figure itself out. So that's not to say that you don't have to pay attention to margin, and coach your team to charge for what they're worth. But, at the core of what we do, if we're going to give generously to our team, if we're going to give generously to our community, if we're going to serve the way we want to serve, we have to be profitable, full stop, end of sentence. But when faced with the decision, be the more generous, choose the more generous of the two. And that's at the core of everything we do, is recognize that, running the business by the spreadsheet, can get you far, but running it by the people gains you a lot of trust and a lot of social capital that, I believe will take the business a whole lot further than making strictly numbers driven decisions would any day of the week.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about how you share success with your team at Yarbrough, because I know you guys have a pretty unique system in place. Yeah.
So to tell the full story, 2017, we had a bad year. We lost, a couple $100,000. Now, it wasn't a true loss. We built a building and, we built it out of cash flow. And so we were kind of lying to ourselves on total P&L, but nonetheless, the P&L said we lost, quite a bit of money. And that was kind of that watershed moment going into 2018 of we have to change. Something has to be figured out. And so in 2017, Dad for years had paid Christmas bonuses to the entire team. And in 2017, I actually took out line of credit money and paid Christmas bonuses out of the line of credit so that the team would still have what they expected as far as their Christmas bonus was concerned. And, after talking with John and Vicki LaPlante over the next 2 years and, really trying to figure out what can we do that will still offer benefit, offer success, and offer a bonus structure, but tie it to the success of the company. And so in 2019, we implemented kind of our profit sharing bonus structure, which is every month we share the numbers with the team. We have a big 1,800 square foot break room / training room at our new warehouse. And, I've got a big 8 foot by 5 foot whiteboard, and I'll get up there and write up all the numbers of profit and loss. And I write pretty much everything. I'll, show our revenues, our cost of goods, what we paid in wages, and write down the KPIs of what we need those to be in line. And then once I get to overhead, I just write overhead, write the big number of whatever overhead is, and say we need this to be 30% plus or minus 2% on the month. And then show what we made in net profit. And if what we made in net profit is greater than 6%, we'll take 10% of all profits and put it in the profit sharing fund. And so it's 10% of every, not everything above 6, but once we hit 6, it unlocks the profit sharing fund. And 6% was kind of that floor of, okay, if we're going to continue to grow, we need to retain, we need to make sure we're hitting at least 6. And, and thankfully for the last several years, we've been floating, 15, 17% net. So that hasn't been a conversation, but it is a conversation. Heat and air, we're slow in Oklahoma in November, December, January, and February. It's miserably beautiful outside during that time of the year. And so sitting down, having those conversations of, we lost money here, but it's okay. We lost money here, but it's okay. And I think that's really grounded the team in what it looks like to run the business. And at worst, we don't get buy-in. Guys glaze over. They don't care. They just see, okay, great. Money went in the profit sharing fund. And at best, guys are taking an interest. Our team members are taking an interest in what we're doing and what the numbers say about where we're at. And I've had those conversations with a couple of our technicians who's thought, some of our young guys were like, well, I thought I wanted to go run a business, but man, after looking at the P&L, I think I can have more success here. I said, that's the whole goal is for us to make you more successful and give you a path to more success than you could on your own. And so that's kind of the way that we've structured it. Last year, we paid out about $125,000 in profit sharing to a team of, we have 48 minus the Yarbroughs. And so, that led to the average being around $2,800, $2,900 or something like that. And so we give it based on position in the company. So we split it out into shares. And so a lead technician or a lead installer will get 2 shares, an apprentice will get 1, and a manager will get 2 as well, or 3. And so that's the split. And so it just kind of grows as the company grows. And as we get more efficient, those shares go up. So I think the first year we paid out, the average was like $1,500 or $1,700. And then, over the last 2 years, we've, really doubled down, and the average has climbed up to about $2,800, $2,900.
That's so cool. And is that a one-time payment after the success of the full year?
Yeah. So that's after the full year. So that's on top of, spiffs, any other monthly bonus opportunities that are out there and things like that. This is just, hey, here's the profit sharing. Here's your cut of what the company profited. So that's just an extra. And we run November to October. So November 1 to October 31st is the profit sharing. That way we can get it out before the holidays. And so we can get money in everybody's pockets before they have to go buy Christmas presents.
Oh, very thoughtful of you guys. That's very cool. I don't think I've ever spoken with a company on the podcast who's done something like that before. I think that's a really genius idea.
And we robbed and duplicated it from somebody in the Service Nation. Again, I don't know how much it gets, tied together that, hey, what the company does and what I do on a daily basis ties to the profit sharing. But at bare minimum, I mean, gosh, it helps us have conversations of here's why the profit sharing bonus is less or more than it was last year. It gives justification and credence to what that number is, as opposed to what a lot of times it is, which is, oh, well, the big boss said, here's what we're getting this year. And then, it's easy to just blame the man for whatever outcome, as opposed to having an internal locus of control and recognizing that, hey, what I do can impact the outcomes here.
Well, you as operators, right? You guys are able to show your work almost, going back to a math thing, even though it's both of our weaknesses here. I also want to say I really love the transparency of it, because you're giving all of your employees a peek into what it actually takes to run the business. So you mentioned the technician who was like, I thought I wanted to go out on my own, but now I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do this. That's great. But then on the other side, potentially you're grooming employees for taking over leadership positions in a couple of years, however
Absolutely.
long that looks like. So going back to this core of you guys building a legacy brand through steady, consistent growth, you're kind of planting seeds in the right minds, hopefully, and showing folks like, hey, this is what we do to make Yarbrough successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that, gosh, through COVID, growth, it seemed like everybody was exploding. I mean, we were one of them. And I think 2024 has kind of grounded a lot of companies and put us back to reality. It's, closing rates aren't floating nationally around 65% now. They're back down in the, mid 40s to mid 50s. And so they've taken a dive. And I think this is the first year that it's back to normal, in such a way that, okay, growth isn't going to come easy just because we're in business and have a sign hanging on Google that says we're open. So where we're at right now is we got to nail it. We got to nail it before we scale it, and try to figure, okay, what seats does everybody need to be in? And like you said, the team members that start asking the right questions, start asking and figuring out, okay, how can I be more successful? Because that's what we're looking for. Is we're looking for self-starters. That's at the end of the day who we need to help scale the business. And our goal, over the next 20 years is to become Oklahoma City's premier HVAC, cooling, plumbing and electrical company, and be that family business, that's grounded in the state, and really double down on our name, our reputation, the legacy we have here, and that whenever you spend money with us, it stays in Oklahoma.
Amazing. Well, I want to touch also on this consistent growth element too, because obviously I've had folks on this show that have done insane growth year over year over year. But I do not every once in a while, but I have quite a few guests who are like, I'm focused on consistent growth. Like, I don't need to be shattering records. I don't need to be like the biggest and the best at all times. So I'm curious, like thinking about consistent growth, how did you and your brothers and your dad kind of implement what you were learning from John and Vicky, like in a consistent way to see results, right?
Yeah. Having a coach is, I can't recommend it enough. And finding the right coach that fits your core values and your culture. Having a coach there to watch what you're doing as an operator, as a manager, is so powerful, because it takes stepping up and out from your business to see what the problems are, and see what needs to be done. One of the things that we started doing was we would get almost paralyzed, because you go to these, Service Nation, you go to talk to other ServiceTitan contractors, and you get so many ideas, and you get paralysis of analysis of, oh my gosh, you come back and a lot of times it's easy to think, man, we suck. We should just close the door. We're lucky to be in business. And
hey, who let you into my inner monologue?
Exactly. It's easy to have those thoughts, but taking one thing at a time and making it a stone and giving it a 6-month run is pretty much what we've done. Is, growing up, Dad always had had and has a saying, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. One bite at a time. That's all it takes. And so taking projects and giving them their due time. And I think as operators, a lot of time what kills us is we get ADHD. If growth isn't occurring at the rate we want it to, well, as opposed to finding the slow, not the slow, but the consistent model for it, or the, maybe not so flashy model, because we're ADHD folks, we go looking for the next big thing that's going to make the huge swing for us. And I think the biggest thing that we've kind of come to and really take pride in is, it's the tortoise and the hare story. Is I think that we might not build as big of a business as the person who's blitz scaling, but I think that the foundation and the relationships that we have within the business are going to be a whole lot healthier and a whole lot happier than, one where we're not sure if we can trust the person who got implemented, because we're growing at such a rate that we might not have time to vet the person out. And ultimately, I want to be sensitive to the fact that there's no right way to build a business. There's no right way to scale a business. There's plenty of entrepreneurs who are blitz scaling, and you talk to them and, oh my gosh, everything that they're doing is just sunshine, rainbows, and gold. But for us and what we want out of it, it's not just building the business. I think it's easy to take a look at the Michael Gerber call to work on your business and not in your business. But I think, what would you be doing with your time otherwise? You're working. Mm-hmm. And I think your life spent with people that you love, know, and trust, I think that's a life worth living. I think that's one worth pursuing, and one where you're grounded in community and where you get to benefit. There is no separation of family and business. That's a myth. Yeah. Every contractor knows that's a lie. Every contractor is a family business, regardless of if their family works in it or not. because it infiltrates every piece of who you are, every relationship you have. It's getting the phone call from, friends and family at church, on a, Saturday night at 9 o'clock saying, hey, we're out of AC. And well, because contractors are helpers, you're going. And I think that building the community around us is more important than maybe achieving the breakneck growth that's possible. But I think that the slow and consistent approach for us is doing it well and building trust along the way is the most important thing for us.
Yeah. I had Jamie DiDomenico on very early in the show, and he was telling me about implementation, and very, very similar to what you said. When you go to conferences, when you listen to experts in the field, or listen to podcasts and you hear about people that have, skyrocketed their business to the hundreds of millions, it's really easy to get that imposter syndrome, like, well, what the heck am I doing? Or get overwhelmed with analysis paralysis and just try to implement way too many things at once. And he was talking about how you just need to implement and actually track it and see if it's going well and if it's working for you. Like that is the thing. And for ADHD folks, which I am too, it's hard because the best thing with projects is the very beginning when you start them off.
It's the idea phase.
Yeah, it sucks following up and actually doing them. Least favorite part for me too. So I hear you with that, and I think that's really important. I also have to say, and I don't mean to be divisive, right before your episode airs, we're going to have another conversation air with Lydia Brewster from Aqua Clear Water Systems. Lovely person, very smart, going very far in her career. And she is very anti saying we're a family business, which is so prominent. Like that verbiage is so prominent in the trades. And I think it's just interesting how you're like, nope, we are a family business. Even if your family's not in the business, you're a family. And I think it's just fascinating to get into these little nuanced ways as how people like describe their business and the words that they use. So I just wanted to throw that out there if you have any thoughts to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year was the first year we hosted this group, but we're hosting them again this winter. It's a group of companies that John and Vicky are coaching as well, and so they came and we did an end of year success planning. And I had a hot take in the room, which was I said, nobody cares if you're a family business. They don't.
Oh, you mean customers?
Yeah, customers don't care. Customers, they don't really care. I mean, they care if you have enough good reviews. They care if your trucks are clean, if your reputation appears to be what you say it is. Where we're doubling down with the family business side is with the technicians, with our people. And again, there's horror stories of family businesses out there. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to say that every family business, deserves to be a family business. But one of the things that is undeniable with us is, at the core of everything we do is a love for one another. And that extends to our team. There's a story that I love telling about my mom. I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and I'm 4 years younger than Colby and 6 years younger than Will. And we were leaving the shop one day, and me and Colby were pretty much the same personality type, or I guess opposite ends of the same personality type. Our ends are always the same. The ends are, we agree on what the outcome should be, but the means, the how, is where he and I would bicker. We'd argue. And so we'd butt heads a lot as kids, and we were arguing and going back and forth. And I don't know, mom must have had a stressful day at the shop, and she slammed on her brakes and threw us all forward, and she snapped her head around, and, she looked at us and she said, I don't care if you like each other, but you will love each other. And that story, it's burned into my memory of, okay, the love I have for my brother, the love I have for my team, that is a heart position. That's a mind position. That's not a feeling. Liking someone is a feeling, but love is a choice that we have to choose. It's a sacrifice. We're willing to put it on the line and go to bat for this person. And so I think that while there is a lot of stigma, and I'm not going to be oblivious to the stigma of family business, but I think when done right, it has a lot of potential to be a really powerful force within the small business community.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So, Tucker, you're a great talker. You've got a podcast yourself called the Blue Collar Bros Podcast. Where can listeners find it, and what can they expect to hear when they listen to it?
So we're on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. And really right now, what we're focusing on is, we'll do an episode where it's just the three of us brothers, along with our marketing director, who's our producer, shooting the bull, talking about what we're hearing in the industry, what we're seeing, how Will and Colby maintain close rates, what best practices we've implemented are. And then about every other episode is an interview with one of our team members. And we have a really long tenure at the shop. We have, average tenure is about 7 years, and our churn is about 15 to 12% just any given year. And so we're a pretty sticky company. Once somebody comes to work for us, we're good at hanging on. And so interviewing our team members, hearing their journey into the trades, what it's like working for a family business, what it's like, seeing the business grow, because a lot of these team members that we've interviewed have been with us for 15 years, 12 years, and really have seen the evolution of Yarbrough and Sons. And so we'll eventually get into talking to other industry experts, but the first project we wanted to tackle was interviewing our people and getting their stories out, because I think that the everyday HVAC and plumbing heroes journey into the trades is a story worth telling.
Amazing. All right. Well, check it out. We'll definitely link it in the show notes so folks can find it if they're interested. Tucker, this has been a great conversation. I'm going to close this out. I want to know, what media are you consuming right now? What books are you reading, movies, TV? What are you really into right now?
So I just started reading Day Trading Attention by Gary Vaynerchuk. It's his new book. I think it came out a couple months ago. And I'm an audiobook guy, and if I really like it, I'll go back, listen to it again, but not while I'm working, and take notes. So it's definitely going to be a back-to-back listen for me, just because the approach that he's suggesting to marketing, gathering attention, and just overall branding and advertising in day trading is super relevant, because he just wrote it, and he's kind of uncovering and discussing things that they're doing at VaynerMedia for their clients, and how they're tying in just the whole spectrum of platforms, as opposed to isolating just okay, we're doing traditional with this and social with this, and he's breaking down that even social isn't just social. You have to approach every platform differently, and so it's pretty heady, but super interesting read so far.
Oh, interesting. So it's not about day trading stocks. It's about it's still about marketing.
Yeah, day trading attention. So it's he's after eyeballs. Where is low undervalued attention, where it's at, how to gather it, and what approaches you should be taking on different platforms. From LinkedIn to YouTube, TikTok, or whatever.
Interesting. Very, very cool. Tucker, thank you so much. I have one more bonus question for you that will reveal the nerd in both of us. Who is your favorite Lord of the Rings character, and why?
It's the main character, Samwise Gamgee.
Oh, Samwise. I was like, Frodo?
No, that's not. Hey, I knew.
Also, my face, I was like, Frodo. Like, I had no poker face at that at all. Also, Frodo's great, but yeah, Samwise is the best. Tell me why you love him so much.
No, Samwise, gosh, you can't watch it, read it, listen to it without recognizing that Samwise is the main character. There is Frodo, yeah, he gets the ring, he gets the glory, but Samwise is the little engine that kept the story churning.
Yeah, wouldn't have happened without Samwise. I love that. My favorite is Eowyn for obvious reasons.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a touchy subject to get into the Elvish world, so who knows?
No, Eowyn. She's the one who killed the kid.
Oh my gosh! Yep.
Faramir and Eowyn. She's the He killed the Night Witch of Agmar.
Yeah. Well, now that we've just discredited my nerddom, that was a great episode.
Fantastic episode. Now everyone knows that you and I love Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
Tucker, thank you for being a guest. I look forward to seeing you again and hearing all about how Yarbrough and Sons is doing. I have no doubt you guys are going to continue to be doing great things.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.